Mr. Speaker, sir, I am indeed very grateful to you. We are all grateful to you for having given us this very rare opportunity of discussing something which somehow has not been discussed in the spirit in which it needs to be discussed. And these 4 or 5 days, and I see that the days are prolonging, the hours are prolonging, therefore the urge to speak is getting increased every minute. So I expect that we will end this session with something meaningful, something that is actionable, apart from what we express as our opinions. We come to certain tentative conclusions, even tentative conclusions in regard to what needs to be done immediately and also in the immediate term. I have chosen a subject, Mr. Speaker, sir, which I think has not been touched so far, but which I think is of great importance to the world in general and therefore to India and to each one of us. I shall not repeat what has been said because that is hardly necessary. I shall go straight to what I have to say. It so happens that we are in the 50th year of independence. That is the special significance for India. But there is an equally special significance for other countries and the world as a whole. And if this confluence of coincidences is to be taken into account, these 2 or 3 years before the next century are without doubt the most important, the most crucial in the life of all nations of the world. We are at the confluence of 2 millennia. Do we remember what the year 1000 AD was like? Do we have anything authentic to say that the world looked like this? We have nothing except small fragments of who ruled where, because history, unfortunately, has always consisted of rulers and nothing about the ruled. So that mistake should not be committed at the end of this millennium, and people are already thinking very deeply in futuristic terms. If what happened in the 20th century is known to all of us, we have passed through it, we are still passing through it, what do we expect in the next century or next millennium to come and to be in store for us? This is what thinkers all over the world are thinking. Sir, the most important aspect of our domestic, foreign, international, call it what you like, our existence is disarmament today. Nuclear disarmament is the must for the survival of the world. This is known, this is admitted, this is acknowledged, but this is not acted upon, and we do not see any symptoms of its being acted upon sincerely. I am saying this because we know what happened to the CTBT, we know what happened to the NPT, and for the last 50, 60 years, Panditji, our governments have been struggling for this. Even before India became free, Mahatma Gandhi expressed himself in most unequivocal terms about the ghastly results of nuclear wars, about the need for non-violent behavior on the part of nations, about the need to eschew violence, and all this is known to us. But this has not happened. This is not likely to happen just like that, because after the extension of the NPT, indefinite extension, and after the CTBT has been rammed down the throats of the countries, it's good that we did not allow that to happen with us. After these, there is no incentive for taking real and meaningful steps in the direction of nuclear disarmament. It's something hilarious to know that before the Cold War ended, the nuclear power states had enough nuclear weapons to destroy, to blow up the entire globe 20,000 times. The improvement after the end of the Cold War is that according to statisticians, they will be able to blow up the world 3,000 times now. It's a great improvement from 20,000 to 3,000, but what is the improvement to the mankind as a whole? If we are once annihilated, we don't have to wait for 2,999 times to see what happens, and we will not do it. So this is something totally unreal, totally unreal. They are doing it because they want to bring their own arsenals down for their own mutual satisfaction and individual security. They are not doing it for the world. They are not doing for this vast humanity who have no hand at all in taking these decisions. So someone has to tell them, whatever you might say, whatever you might do, mankind is not prepared to become your gun fodder. We will have to fight it out, not necessarily with guns because we don't have them, but public opinion, opinion of more than 110 countries in the non-aligned, and the general public in those countries where the stockpiles are existing. Everyone on the face of the earth can be an ally in this, and this is what we have to do. I've been thinking about this, speaking about this, urging this in many councils of the world, but for the last 3 or 4 years, I've become a little alarmed about why this is not happening. Let us understand. After the Cold War, the nuclear weapon states have no one to fear. They have enough nuclear weapons, as I just described, even if it comes to 300 times or 30 times. They are still there in possession of enormous material of destruction. Now, why are they not really talking in terms of, say, 50 years for a total elimination? 60 years, 100 years, I don't mind. Rajiv Gandhi wanted it done in 2010. I thought it would be possible even earlier because the end of the Cold War would facilitate that. Nothing of the kind has happened. Why? There must be some reason. No reason is being adduced, but accidentally, by reading, by trying to understand what is working in their minds, what is the mindset, new mindset, I have stumbled into something which I would like to share with the House. The scenario of the next century, next millennium, although it is mysterious to all of us, it is not mysterious to some thinkers in these advanced countries. They think that now there is not going to be any ideological warfare. There is not going to be any ideological warfare. What they think is, now that the Cold War has ended, international politics is moving out of its Western phase. From now on, the core of global politics will be the interaction, that is conflict in other words, between the West and non-Western cultures. Now they have already drawn the battle lines. We were thinking that no battle lines can be drawn now. The Cold War is over once for all, and therefore we will have nothing except peace in the world, international peace, cooperation, and what all we have been dreaming. Here the dream has been punctured by saying there is going to be a confrontation, there is going to be a conflict, and it's not the conflict between the East and the West, etc. No, the conflict is going to be West versus the rest. Therefore, how can the Western powers divest themselves of nuclear powers? They cannot. They say that the people today want the benefits of modernity and the identity provided by their own culture and values. What is wrong about it? But they find that because other people are going to insist on retaining their own cultures, there is going to be a cultural confrontation. There is going to be a cultural conflict between these three. The configuration that has been shown in the book, which is the Bible of this, is on one side you have the Christianity, although I don't know what he wants to happen for the Christians of Africa, for the Christians of India, for the Christians of Burma, for the Christians of non-Western world. Because when you say West versus the rest, whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu or whatever, you fall in the non-Western sphere and not in the Western sphere. But they have monopolized the Christian cross for the West. This is one fallacy. The other they have taken as Islam. Islam, they think, is going to be the main adversary in this. And the third is the Confucianism, the Hindu religion, the Buddhist religion, the Jainist religion, all the rest. So they have lumped together all the rest. And they say that this is going to be the confrontation. World politics is being configured, reconfigured along cultural lines with new patterns of conflict and cooperation replacing those of the Cold War. The hot spots, and here is the most interesting thing, which we as Indians would like to be amused at, but then they seem to be very serious about it. The hot spots in world politics are on the fault lines between civilizations. Witness the fighting in Bosnia, Chechnya, the Transcaucasus, Central Asia, Kashmir, the Middle East, Tibet, Sri Lanka, Sudan, and many other places. So according to this thinking, what is happening in Kashmir is a clash of civilizations. How do we appreciate this? How do we assess this? And still this is going to be the basis for policy making in the next century. If I say so, I think I am not saying anything exaggerating, because the gentleman who has written this book and given this scenario about 4 years ago, which I had the occasion to debunk when it came in the shape of an article in a magazine. I debunked it at Davos and told them that nothing of this kind is going to happen in India. If you think that the next program in India is going to be only fight between Hindus and Muslims and Christians and one caste and another caste, this is not going to happen. You will find these things written in the newspapers now and then, but you do not know how peaceful Indians are. The 96 crores of Indians are not fighting every day, every minute. So your money will be safe. Please do not go by this kind of prognosis. And who is the man? Coordinator of security and planning for the National Security Council in the United States of America. I am not saying that this book has been taken as the Bible. I am not saying that this is taken as the basis of their immediate policies. I am only saying what is happening in the think tanks of the country, which can make the difference between war and peace, the difference between existence and non-existence for the whole world. So who is to take up this matter? Those who have willingly signed wherever they were asked to sign, they cannot take up this matter. Someone has to, and that is India. We have been taking up these matters right from the beginning, whether anyone liked or not. And therefore, I would like to tell the Prime Minister, I would like to tell the Government of India, please keep up the tradition of going it alone if necessary, ek lakh chalo. But say what is right. If you cannot, then you will be the cause, immediate cause of the annihilation of the world. I am not making any prognosis. I am making a comment on the possible prognosis made by those who matter. And this is my submission, sir. So, if the world has to survive, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to debunk these things, that there are already battle lines drawn, fault lines drawn. Now there is no question of anyone abjuring nuclear weapons. And there is no question of allowing anyone else to make nuclear weapons. Positively, they are not going to abjure. Negatively, they are not going to allow you and others who want to make nuclear weapons for their own security to do that. So, on positive and negative both sides, the policy seems to be coming out, shaping up in the manner in which they want it. And I would like to say that India will have to be taking a very important role, very crucial role in again doing whatever is possible for nuclear disarmament all over the world. Nuclear disarmament all over the world. I am not talking of so many years. I am not talking of the time frame, but there has to be a time frame. The time frame can be long, but it has to be a time frame. And this is the first point which I would like to impress on our government today. Sir, at the end of the 20th century, a galaxy of thinkers are saying things which sometimes make us happy, but sometimes also make us see how Mahatma Gandhi was almost a century ahead of his time. So no one listened to him, including ourselves. Today, Gandhi's voice is coming from different throats. He is no more. But the same voice is coming from different people who count, whose opinions count. And if I read one or two of these comments and don't tell you who has said this. Each one of us will say, this is Mahatma Gandhi who said it. No, it's not Mahatma Gandhi. And it's not 100 years ago. This is being said in the last 2 or 3 years at the end of the 20th century, irrespective of what Mahatma Gandhi said, because it is relevant today. They are not saying this because of Mahatma Gandhi. They are not saying because Gandhiji said. No. When he said it, they didn't bother. But now they are saying exactly the same things because after 100 years of the Cold War, the kind of consumerism, the vulgar consumerism that is really eating into the vitals of all these nations, they find that all this has been a waste. In fact, if state, party and social policy will not be based on morality, then mankind has no future to speak of. Does it not sound typically 100% like a Gandhian statement? If the politics of a state or the conduct of an individual is guided by a moral compass, this turns out to be not only the most humane, but in the long run, the most prudent behavior for one's own future. We allowed ourselves, we allowed our wants, again what Gandhiji has said, we allowed our wants to grow unchecked and are now at a loss where to direct them. And with the obliging assistance of commercial enterprises, newer and yet newer wants are being created, being concocted, some of them wholly artificial, and we chase after them en masse, but find no fulfillment. Then about environment, all hope cannot be pinned on science and technology, economic growth. Now these are the three gods that we have been worshipping. In the 20th century, these are the three gods. Science, technology, economic growth. The victory of technological civilization has also instilled a spiritual insecurity in us. Its gifts enrich but enslave us as well. Let us admit, even if in a whisper, only to ourselves, in this bustle of life at breakneck speed, what are we living for? What are we living for? I mean, this is the question to which these thinkers have come after decades and decades and decades of what they call progress. And now they don't know what to do. They don't know where they are. They don't know what they are living for. It is up to us to stop seeing progress as a stream of unlimited blessings and to view it rather as a gift from the high sent down for an extremely intricate trial of our own free will. It's not for indulgence, but it's a test of how our free will works in spite of all these difficulties. Then, sir, ugly new ulcers have surfaced. Look at the phraseology that these great thinkers are using. I mean, if people like us would have used these words, we would have been very severely criticized. I have no doubt about that. Ugly new ulcers have surfaced from years of torment. For instance, the current nascent capitalism. And this gentleman is not a communist. He is a confirmed anti-communist who is saying this. Surfaced from years of torment. For instance, the current nascent capitalism, fraught with unproductive, savage, and repulsive forms of behavior, and the plunder of the nation's wealth, the likes of which the West has not known. This in truth has even brought an unprepared and unprotected populace to a nostalgia for, this is a very, very telling sentence, sir, a nostalgia for the equality in poverty of the past. Let us be equal, let us be all poor. Let us not get into this new race which has brought us to this pass. This is what they say. I can go on reading, sir, there is no need. The question now is, if these gentlemen have said today what Mahatma Gandhi said 90 to 100 years ago, if you take into account what he said in South Africa even more than 100 years ago, what are we doing about it? We should be very clear about it. Because if we are talking about a future, if we are talking about the next millennium, we will have to understand what is the trend of the next millennium going to be, what are we going to make it in this country. If we are still not clear, or at least to some extent clear as to what we want to do, then I am afraid we will be simply groping like this. Others will take a march over us, steal a march over us, but we will remain more or less in the dark. Now, sir, Cold War created not only the confrontation between the so-called East and West, but there are many dualities that were created, what we call dvandvas, the duality between the individual and the society, the duality between the public and private, the duality between status quo and pro-change, duality between orthodox and liberal. All these have come and they have been rubbing shoulders with each other. They don't seem to see the end of this duality. I would like to submit that for thousands of years all these dualities have been subsumed in the Indian philosophy. We have specialized in solving these dualities, these dvandvas, the relation between the society and the individual. To India, to Indians and to the Indian mind, this is no mystery at all. We feel it in our bones, even if we cannot describe it in language. We feel it in our bones. We live it. We live this duality having been resolved in the most beautiful manner, in the most useful manner for the society. When Buddha said, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Now that is the ultimate. But that is the ultimate. That's not the beginning. Dharmam, Buddham, and all these stages you pass, and finally you go to this society, and that is the supreme. That is the supreme. Now, our civilization has resolved all this because we built the middle path, the Madhya Marg. We have always said Ati Sarvatra Varjayat. Just one small maxim, Ati Sarvatra Varjayat, the middle path, first perhaps expounded by the Buddha, and then today see how many India's policies are following the middle path. What is mixed economy? Today, after the Cold War ended, the president of one very important communist country when he came here, he said, we don't know how to run a shop. And it is true. They knew many things, science, technology, everything. They don't know how to run a shop. If we know anything, we know to run a shop better than many people. Because in the Varnashram, it is there for thousands of years. It may be bad today. We want to throw it out of the window. We are throwing it out of the window. But then the fact remains that our history, our civilization has taken care of all these things. What is non-alignment? Is non-alignment something which was born in 1961? No. Non-alignment is a child of the middle path. When did we adumbrate it? Maybe thousands of years ago. But in modern times, the Indian National Congress passed a resolution on non-alignment in 1946, one full year before we became free. And let me also say that the difference between freedom on the one hand and independence on the other is coming into bold relief with every passing day. We use them interchangeably. Sometimes we said independence, sometimes we said freedom. But today, I am afraid, in respect of any country, it is not possible to dogmatically say that every country which is politically free is also independent. We see this scenario of almost every country in the world politically free, but we shouldn't be saying anything about other countries. But if you go and look a little more carefully, you will find that that country is not necessarily independent. We have seen examples of this, instances of this. So, what we really take by the middle path is the freedom to stick to our ideas. We may not always be right. We are prepared to be convinced. We are open to be convinced. But we are not going to be convinced in advance. That is what the loss of independence means. Yes, I am with you, therefore, whatever you say, I say. That kind of thing we have not accepted through the millennia, we have not accepted. So in this millennia, in this coming millennia, we will have to highlight this. We will have to underscore this as never before, because India is going to be one of the few countries able to do it. Panditji said, there are many countries in the world, but India has a particular place. It was not because he was a chauvinist, he was not. He gave the argument. Yes, the United States, the Soviet Union, China, he gave 3 examples, countries which can stand on their own. And the 4th he said, India. Not yet, not on the day he said it, but he said it as a bhavishya drashta. He said, if there is going to be any country apart from these 3 countries which can get its voice heard, stand on its feet, stand on its own civilization, its own strength of conviction, that is India. So shall we really lose ourselves in our petty difficulties? Yes, of course, every country, every nation passes through these ups and downs. But if we do not have something to look for, something to strive for in the coming millennium, I think we are going to be doomed, and perhaps India will not keep its place in the community of nations, the important place which it has. Now, sir, let us go to the next point, which is extremely important from our position today. Gandhiji gave us 3-4 things. How many have we accepted? I don't see anything that we have accepted from Gandhi. we have instituted a Gandhi Prize for people who have experimented with Gandhian ideas, not just because they have written 2 books on Gandhiji, no. Those are the kinds of people we want. While we formulated the criteria, we said it's time that Gandhi, who has been read extensively, written upon extensively, is also acted upon. It doesn't matter how much, but the effort is important. After all, he started effort on what he believed. That's how he started. He didn't only preach and keep quiet. Therefore, the Gandhi Prize, based on, not based on par with the Nobel Peace Prize, is meant for those who are actually implementing even one idea of Gandhi actually in the field. That is the kind of people we want. That is the only way of expanding Gandhism. And as every other method of reconciliation, war, peace, proximity talks, all kinds of things, everything is failing. And as every one of these things fails, the world is pushed 1 millimeter closer to Gandhi. Now we have given a shot in the arm to this process of making Gandhism real, finding out what exactly is in it by way of human life, by way of changes in the life of nations. That is what the government of India, the then government of India has done, and I think that is a good thing that has been done for Gandhi. Now, what have we taken? Non-violence we could not take. Non-violence we could not take because we had special problems. And Gandhiji also understood that we could not take non-violence. He understood it. He also said that he doesn't expect non-violence to become a method of solving problems immediately. He took a long time frame. He said that this is not going to happen today. So if there is going to be an invasion, let us say, on India, I am all for fighting the invader with arms. Panditji said, I do not believe non-violence as a creed. We were students in those days. Lot of discussion we went through. We heard people talk pro and con and all that. Somebody saying that non-violence is a creed. Others saying non-violence can only be a policy whose efficacy has to be proved. Now what a world of difference between the two concepts. And Panditji held this view. You can see here the enormous difference in the approaches of Gandhiji on one hand and Panditji on the other. But at the same time, Gandhiji also gave that caveat that he is not asking for non-violence to be implemented in toto immediately. Therefore, in the short term, Gandhiji and Jawaharlal both coincided actually so far as action, governmental action is concerned. Sir, what else? Non-violence, not relevant at the moment, we cannot take it. Can we take, let us say, small-scale industries? Very, very practical, small-scale industries. Now, What is the implication? The implication is that there is an ally who is coming to you, and that ally is the environmentalist. When Gandhiji said this, he was not there on the scene. The phenomenon was there, but the person was not there. The force of environmentalists was not available at that time when Gandhiji advocated this small industry. Because he took it from ancient India, from our own history, from our own culture, and therefore he was on very good ground, sound ground. There is no doubt about that. But today there is another ally in the shape of environmentalists. When we take employment as an economic activity, the conundrum of the right technology confronts us. If we take to gigantism to obtain economies of scale, we accept sophisticated technology which replaces man with machine, accentuating unemployment and imposing heavy social costs. These are obvious things. On the other hand, if we inevitably accept the route of large-scale employment with old technology and low wages, the large mass of people as well as their economic activity, including the product thereof, remain at a primitive level in quality. These are the two horns of the dilemma on which we find ourselves. Today, this problem has to be solved by us. Gandhiji did not solve it. He said small industries, for various reasons which cannot be controverted, they are all valid reasons and still they have not been accepted. Today, whether it is America, Germany or any, they are facing the same problems of gigantism. What happens to the thousands and thousands of people who become rootless? You have a township. The township is full of slums. They come from their villages. They have no one to look to. Each one is an island in himself. He is totally alienated from society and from his roots. What is the social cost? Has anyone calculated the social cost? If you do, then you will find that this gigantism and the economy of scale is not worth having. What about the new diseases he falls a prey to? How much money you will have to spend in getting him cured, which we don't anyway. So, this problem has to be solved by us. Now, I have here a suggestion. We are talking about science and technology. Very well, we are proud of our scientists, technologists, etc. But may I submit in all humility that our scientists and technologists are doing exactly what the advanced countries are doing. Because our people go and work there very well. They are in all the top positions there. We are happy about it. But to what extent they have brought their skills, their science, their technological innovations to bear on our problems here? That is the question. We will have to throw this challenge to them. I am not criticizing them. Having given them all the encouragement that is needed, now the country has a right to expect from them something. And what is that? I would like to define it, if possible. Obviously, both these positions are unacceptable. We cannot have gigantism on one hand. We cannot have absolute primitivism on the other. So we will have to find another middle path for this. There are 6 factors involved in any industry. 6 factors: size, environmental acceptability, cost, quality, technology, and employment potential. You can't have a 7th. I have made a deep study. To me, it appears that these are the 6. These are variables. In an industry, you may have the size as big, the others as small, etc., etc. Now, what is the algebraic question? The question is, there are some constants and some variables. Which is the variable on which you have to work? I mean, this I think students of mathematics can easily understand. Now, let us eliminate. Environmental acceptability is a must. Whether it's a big one or a small one, what is the size, whatever is the size, no one is going to baksho you because you are a small size. No. If the environmental safety is being endangered, out you go. That will have to be made absolutely clear. Quality, absolutely must. No compromise on quality. 2 items gone. If the objective is, now there are 4, if the objective is to maximize employment potential and minimize the per unit size, now these are the 2 things you have to do at more or less the same cost. You can't take 10 times the cost and say, I have done it, therefore give me 10 times the price, and no one is going to give you. Therefore, the cost must be comparable. Maximize employment potential, minimize per unit size. Then what remains? Only one: technology. What makes the difference is technology. That is the variable. If you have lousy technology, you will not have. Your technology should be superb. Something which has not been done, not been adopted anywhere in the world, because in those countries their needs were different. They wanted gigantism, they had gigantism. They have no population growth like ours, therefore they are very happy. But now they will have to think of methods of minimizing, eliminating environmental pollution. That's the only one problem for them. To us, this and making a kind of consensus, making a kind of compromise between all these factors is our problem. Now, I'll give you another example. About 25 years ago, sir, I went to Pondicherry, to the ashram. As you all know, the ashram runs a very good secondary school. I don't know whether it has become a college or upgraded, but in 25 years ago, it was a very good school, one of the best secondary schools in the country. They took me there. I said, what is special about you? 25 years ago, they said, sir, we have constructed a computer. Nobody knew what a computer was 25 years ago, including me. When they took me there, there's a big room, and the whole room is full of the computer. It's something like an elephant. The size of the computer is the size of, say, 2 elephants covering the whole room. They said, this is the computer. I don't understand this. This is a huge thing. Please tell me what does it do? Then they showed me some elementary calculations being done by that huge elephantine size computer. I said, yes, that's very good, but what do I do with it? When I have to multiply 342 to 450, I come here. Is that what you want? They said, no, sir, but this is how electricity can make use of its brain in such a way that it replicates human brain. This is the speciality of the computer, and we all know it. Then we had the mainframes, they are all still there. Then we have the desktops. Then we have the laptops. What is a laptop? This has. It has the same power, maybe not so much space, but the same power. The technology is the same. In fact, it is more sophisticated than what is employed in a desktop or a mainframe. Now, what is the difference between that and this? Technology has made the difference. Technology has made the difference. All other things are the same. And you want a smaller one, take a smaller one. You want a middle one, you take a middle one, whatever you want. So it is technology that has to make the difference. Another example. It is said, I don't know whether it's still correct, 50,000 spindles are the number which make any spinning mill economic. I don't know my friends. Maybe 35, maybe 50, maybe. Now, what are the implications of a mill of that size? As I have just submitted, a whole township, schools, colleges, roads, slums, all the things will come. Now suppose I want a mill which is 1,000 spindles or 500 spindles. The cloth should be comparatively of the same quality. Is it not possible in every village? It is possible in every village, at least a big village. I talk to the people in charge of an institution which makes machinery for textile mills. I called them once or twice and said, can you do this? They said, we will try. It's a matter of research, but we will. I am requesting this government to chase them. They have promised to give us a small scale textile mill, not losing in quality, but giving you all the advantages of the small size adumbrated by Mahatma Gandhi. He could not have done that at that time because conditions were not congenial. The British government would not have accepted it. Today can we not accept it? This government of the people can accept it once it is convinced that this is possible. And I am convinced that this is possible. Let us at least show that this is not possible. If it is not 1,000, let it be 5,000. To that extent, you decentralize. To that extent, you do away with so many problems. Take hydroelectricity. I am very happy, my friend Mr. Yadav the other day, he gave very good suggestions. He said, make use of water first. I would say, make use of water. Make use of the sun, the solar energy. It so happened that in the last 5 years, these non-conventional energy resources were lumped into a separate ministry in this government of India. Why? Because we don't want them to be poor relations of those gigantic other projects. Please find out. I understand that the potential of wind energy in this country is in the neighborhood of 20,000 megawatts. It's not a small amount. I understand that if you fully harness the water of India, only Himachal Pradesh can supply electricity to the whole of India. This may be a little exaggerated, maybe Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh might have told me, but that's not the point. The point is, the Himalayan range will be able to give you enormous quantities of electricity. The whole continent of Africa, sometimes one feels so sad about the whole thing. Go to the Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls can supply electricity to the whole continent of Africa. I have no doubt about it. Those who have seen it will have no doubt about it. So there are many things that could be done on this small scale idea given to us by Mahatma Gandhi. So I would like, just check. There are some countries doing it, mini idols, etc. Now, it appears that whenever a new idea comes here, somebody spikes it. Somebody says it's not possible. And then when somebody says it's not possible, we also say it's not possible and keep quiet. The government, the representative of the people, should refuse to take this as an excuse. They say, my people want it. My people will not go to Sholapur and this place and that place and become skeletons. You give them, jolly well give them a 1,000 spindle or 2,000 spindle. Let us see. What are you for? What is your research for? That is the kind of taskmastership that we have to adopt now. The Chinese have their own indigenous medicine. I saw a book in Vietnam. They have produced, in that war-torn country, they have produced a beautiful book on the medicinal plants in Vietnam. We have also done it. But again, the Indian systems of medicine were groaning, absolutely groaning, under total neglect. Now it is a new department, under a new director. The minister can really make it work wonders, because other countries are doing it. Please go ahead and do it. These are the things which Mahatma Gandhi's soul will be happy to see happening in this country. So, sir, I would like that some innovation, some original thinking, not original, thinking which has been lifted, say, from 1,000 years back, not original in any way, but we have lifted it 1,000 years back and trying to work out these things again. Now, why do you want this? The 8th 5-year plan, the 9th 5-year plan, any 5-year plan will say that our first priority is employment. First priority is employment. Is it possible with this gigantism at all? I mean, howsoever we run our imagination riot, it is just not possible to say that this burgeoning population can be given employment with this kind of industrialization which we are running after. I am not sure. And work for what? In our ethos, in Indian ethos, it is not just for wages. Employment is not for wages alone. Employment is a value in life. Work is in a value in life. Krishna has devoted a whole chapter to Karma Yoga, and he says about himself, I mean, this is something straight from the Bhagavad Gita. What does he say? Na me partha asti kartavya. I have no duty. Nobody has imposed any duty on me. I am the creator. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. In all the worlds, I am functioning. Nobody has imposed any duty on me. But still I do my duty. An unemployed person, whether he is getting doles or not, yes, in some countries they do get doles, but their social problems don't go away, they remain. In fact, they get accentuated. Therefore, the moral is compensated unemployment is no substitute for positive employment. You give him any amount of compensation, he will not be satisfied. The satisfaction that work gives to a person will never be his. Therefore, from our own scriptures, from our own culture, from our own civilization, we derive all these things, not getting dazzled by things which are ephemeral, which ultimately harm the country. So this, I think, is what I would like to suggest to the government, sir. I don't know how much time I have taken, overstepped or overstepped. I'm sorry, but this is what I thought I should share with the House. We could have discussions on each one of these subjects. What can we take from Mahatma Gandhi? That's one big caption. No parties involved, no individual interests involved. What can we take from Mahatma Gandhi if we are not to feel ashamed after 100 years or 50 years that a person called Mahatma Gandhi was born in this country, but we don't know anything about it. Probably we know about him from other countries. That would be a very sad day, very bad day for this country. I thank you very much for the time given to me, sir. I hope that our discussions will be fruitful.